Thank you everyone for joining the session today. My name is Siddharth. I work as a senior manager within the digital and technology advisory practice at Aranca. For any queries post the session, you can email me at siddharth.ghai@aranca.com. So today in the session, we would be discussing about cross-border payments. We would be discussing how do we currently do cross-border payments through SWIFT. What are the newer technologies of doing cross-border payments? And few platforms that are driving technologies, driving innovation in the cross-border payment landscape. So to start, what is cross-border payments? So cross-border payments generally refers to any transaction that happens between a payer and a payee that are located in two different countries. So these transactions can happen between individuals, between companies and banking institutions. Broadly classifying cross-border payments. So cross-border payments are classified into two different categories: wholesale cross-border payments and retail cross-border payments. Wholesale cross-border payments are payments that are generally between financial institutions. So these cross-border payments are generally to do borrowing, lending, foreign exchange, derivatives. So these typically happen between a bank, for example, a bank in India and a bank in Singapore. So these transactions that happen between two financial institutions placed in two different countries that are generally known as wholesale cross-border payments. And retail cross-border payments are payments that usually happen between person to person, between person to businesses, businesses to businesses, and also the remittances that are made by migrants that are or that are working overseas. So these all transactions are categorized as retail cross-border payments. So there is a lot of intensifying activity that has led to an attraction on this cross-border payments, and the cross-border payments market is expected to reach $250 trillion in value by 2027. So there are a few factors that are increasing these, um, increasing the uh, fa- uh, increasing the demand in cross-border payments. So the factors are globalization of supply chains, global asset management and investment flows, rise in international trade and e-commerce, and increase in remittances of migrant workers. So these are the few factors that are increasing the demand for cross-border payment landscape to evolve and innovation happen in this particular area. So I'll talk about how the current way of doing cross-border payments. So currently, SWIFT is a mechanism that is utilized to do the cross-border payment. So what is SWIFT? A SWIFT refers to Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. It is a member-owned cooperative that provides secure messaging for international transfers of money between participating banks. It is not owned by any company. It is rather a cooperative consortium that is owned by member firms and financial institutions. Technically, it is a messaging platform that sends a message from the sender's banking financial institution to a recipient financial institution. Technically, it has a data format, so it adheres to a unique code that is 8 or 11 characters. And how Swift operates, what is the procedure, what is the relationship between Bank A and Bank B, that I'll be coming to in the coming slide. So generally, how cross-border payments work with Swift is there is a concept of Nostro and Vostro account. So Swift is a secure messaging platform that relies on relationships. So there has to be a relationship between Bank A and Bank B to enable the transaction. So when Bank A is sending a payment message to Bank B, there has to be a relationship between Bank A and Bank B in order to complete the transaction. So there is a concept of Nostro account. A Nostro account is an account that Bank A has with Bank B, wherein the currency in the native form is kept in Bank B of Bank A. So that is an account that usually Bank A has in Bank B. And the Bank B refers to that account as an Vostro account in his ledger. So This is the relationship that is created between bank A and bank B. So when we talk about the relationship in a secure messaging platform, these are the two accounts that are there for any transaction to happen. So when a person has to send money from, for example, from India to Singapore, there is a swift message that is generated by by its corresponding bank in India, and that message has to transmit to bank B, that is in Singapore. So when bank A in India has a relationship with bank B directly, there is a direct message flow, and the transaction happens through these Nostro accounts. However, if there is no transaction relationship between bank A and bank B, so there is no Nostro account of bank A and bank B for that matter, then there is an intermediary bank that comes into picture, and that enables and does the transaction from bank A to bank B. So as shown in scenario 2, bank A usually sends the message to an intermediary bank, and intermediary bank in later sends the message to an intermediary bank again, and that message flows to bank B. So this is how the transaction happens through relationships and secure messaging platform, that is Swift. So Swift has been in practice from quite some time now. It was um, there in 1973. It originated in 1973. So now there has been a lot of evolution in Swift. So as mentioned, Swift is a messaging platform, right? So there has been more data that has been added to the data structure to give it more clarity and to make the system more robust. So so in over the time there has been more data that has been added to the data structure. Data reconciliation has data has been added to reconcile the transaction properly. There has been a change in the protocol. From MT it has shifted to MX. It used to have the FIN protocol. Now it uses an XML protocol. So these are all the changes and innovation that has happened within Swift over the time. There is also a concept of Swift GPI that has been added, wherein the tracking and transparency can be done. So there is a unique ID that has been associated with the Swift transaction that is known as UETR, unique end-to-end transaction reference. So this enables tracking and transparency to be there within the Swift transaction. So any person who has sent a money through Swift wire transfer, it he or she gets a UETR number where the receiver as well as the person who is sending the money can track the payment in real time. So that is the evolution that has happened over time with Swift. However, it is still a messaging platform. So no real time money movement happens in Swift. And there are, other than transparency, speed, and cost, there are other challenges that are there within Swift. So the fragmented and truncated data formats, there are limited operating hours, legacy technology platforms are there, and complex processing of compliance checks. So this is a brief overview regarding how Swift operates, what is the technicality of how the relationship between banks overseas are there, and then how the Swift has evolved over time to overcome few of the challenges. Now I would quickly and briefly discuss how the credit card transactions, international purchases happen. So credit card is also a form of transaction wherein you can do overseas purchases. The overseas purchases are currently utilizing the Swift network, but credit card is also a kind of way wherein you can do the overseas purchases. So this is a small flow how the credit card transaction actually flows. So once you are making a transaction on a POS device, the transaction usually flows to the merchant payment gateway. The merchant payment gateway securely collects the and transmits the transaction details to the card network. The ca- the authorization information that is transmitted by the merchant payment gateway to the card network approval. So card network approval can be anything, MX, Visa, Mastercard, and it validates and processes the information that is received by the network. Once the card network receives the transaction, all the information and it processes and validates the information. The currency conversion happens if there is a conversion in the currency, and an authorization response is sent to the merchant payment gateway. Once the merchant payment gateway receives the authorization response, it sends back the merchant response and the customer makes a purchase. This is the front end flow of how the transaction flows in the credit card while you make a purchase with a credit card. However, this is the front end process, right? But there is a settlement that happens between the customer bank and the merchant bank, and that settlement is usually done through Swift or electronic fund transfer or digital wallets. So this is how a customer bank and the merchant bank usually settles the money transactions. So credit card gives the customer a benefit of not waiting that much for making a purchase. It gives the customer the benefit of making the purchase in real time, and the settlement process can usually take from 3 to 5 days work, depending upon what process the customer bank and the merchant bank follows at the back end. So this is a basic brief description upon how the credit card purchases happen for international transactions. Now I would discuss more about the newer technology. So we discussed about how Swift operates, how credit card payments are done. So the future of digital cross-border payments is through blockchain or DLT as a technology. So here is a small snippet showcasing how a normal Swift transaction would take, how much time a normal Swift transaction would take. It would take approximately 3 to 5 business days to wherein the recipient bank would realize the money. Wherein if somebody uses a DLT or a blockchain technology for doing the transaction, it would be done under 24 hours. So this is how blockchain and DLT is changing how cross-border payments are being realized. So here, briefly, I'll explain how blockchain and DLT is used for doing cross-border transactions. For example, you need to send money from Singapore to the US. The user would log in into a DLT platform. So I would later on in the coming slides, I will come to what is a DLT platform, what are the different types of platforms are there, what are the different types of solution providers that are out there doing all these uh, technology enablement for conducting cross-border transactions. But here, it is a simple network wherein the user logs into a DLT platform and buys a token. So a token is generally a cryptocurrency or a coin that a user buys with the amount of money that the user wants to send to the recipient's account. So a token can be anything. It can be a stable coin, it can be a CBDC, it can be a crypto, or it can be a platform-based digital currency. So a key thing here is we have a DLT platform to transmit the tokens that are taken by the user, and the tokens are transmitted to the recipient through the blockchain network. Once the recipient receives the token, the the token can be converted to a fiat currency. The token can be utilized to buy to do transactions and buy commodities. So that is dependent upon what type of token the user has received, and it also depends on what geographies has enabled crypto transactions, right? So there are two takeaways from this particular concept. That one is we leverage the distributed ledger that is there, and also we understand what is the token in this particular area. So once the user logs into the DLT platform, it buys a token. The token is transmitted through a DLT platform to the recipient, and the recipient can convert it to the fiat currency, or it can utilize the same token for doing the transactions. So in the later slides, I will explain what is a stable coin, what is a CBDC, what is a crypto coin, cryptocurrency, what is a digital currency that are given by the different platforms, right? But this is how a flow of cross-border payments or cross-border transactions usually occur to enable overseas transaction. So the newer ways of conducting cross-border payments, in this, there are 5 different types of blockchain-based payment methods. One is cryptocurrency to cryptocurrency payments, wherein the cryptocurrency is bought by the sender. It transmits to the receiver, and the receiver is using that cryptocurrency for doing the purchases. So that is a type of overseas transaction wherein the cryptocurrency is transmitted to the receiver, and the receiver is utilizing the cryptocurrency to do the transactions. Second is stablecoin based payments, wherein the receiver, the sender is buying stablecoin with the money that he needs to send to the receiver. Once the receiver gets the stable coin is pegged to a fiat currency. The stable coin can be redeemed to a currency, and the user can get the money. So this is also a way of transmitting the money through blockchain from one country to another country. The third is blockchain based remittances. I would explain these in detail in my coming slides. The blockchain based remittances are remittances wherein the blockchain provider gives you a digital currency or a token that is utilized to convert your money to a digital token, and then the digital token is converted back to the fiat currency of the native country. So these are the blockchain-based remittances. The fourth one is interbank blockchain payments. So these interbank blockchain payments are generally the blockchain networks that are there with the banks, and they have onboarded and integrated the blockchain solution with their core banking system. And once they have integrated the blockchain network in their core banking system, the users of that bank can transfer money overseas using that particular network. And they have a specific set of token that they buy, and the specific set of tokens that they redeem to make the transaction. And then there are CBDCs. CBDCs are central bank digital currencies. These are backed by the country's central bank, and they enable cross-border transactions. So, stablecoin is a token that is pegged to a fiat value, and CBDCs are generally issued by the country's central bank to make the transaction. So this is where the CBDCs are different from stablecoin. Stablecoin is not given out by the central bank, but stablecoins are not given out by the central bank, but CBDCs are given out by the central bank. So yeah, so here I would be explaining what are the different kinds of platforms that are there for making the cross-border transactions utilizing the blockchain as a technology. So there are four different types of platforms that are there. One is the provider of the platform gives you a blockchain ledger and also gives you a native token to do the transaction. In that particular case, there is Ripple is one of the example, wherein the Ripple has XRP as a ledger and XRP as a coin to do the transaction. The next is blockchain ledger is provided by the platform. However, the token is agnostic. You can buy any token on that particular platform that is given by that platform, and you can do the transaction. So it gives you a blockchain platform and gives you an option to choose any of the token that you would like to buy for doing the transaction. The third is blockchain agnostic, but it has a native token. Circle is one of an example wherein it has a native token known as USDC. USDC is a native token by Circle. It is pegged against US dollar, and it gives you the option to select from any of the blockchain platforms, and it gives you a native token to do the transaction. The next is a platform that gives you option to select from any of the blockchain and any of the token that you would like to do the transaction upon. So it gives you an option to do to choose any of the blockchain network, and it also gives you an option to choose any of the token. BVNK is one of the platform that gives this option. Now, as mentioned in my previous slide, there are few interbank solutions that do these cross-border transactions. Banco Santander is one of a giant serving 140 million plus customers worldwide, and it has partnered with Ripple to launch OnePayFX. So OnePayFX is a blockchain mobile application for doing the cross-border payments. So OnePayFX enables Banco Santander to do the transaction for the customers over blockchain. So it is a relationship that Ripple has made with the bank to enable all the transactions that happen overseas through blockchain. The second is Standard Chartered Integrated Pathir, a platform developed by DBS Bank, JP Morgan, and Temasek, with its core banking system to contract cross-border payments. So Pathir is a platform that is developed by DBS Bank and JP Morgan and Temasek to enable cross-border transactions for the customers of Standard Chartered. So these are the few real-world examples that how cross-border payments are innovated by these banks by integrating their core banking system to a solution provider and to enable and leverage the technology of blockchain to do the transactions. So I'll briefly discuss about how the new platforms such as Ripple, Circle, Stellar, and BVNK are working. What is the algorithm behind their working? What is the technology implementations that they do to do the transactions over blockchain? So Ripple has its own blockchain and it has its own cryptocurrency token. So the blockchain that Ripple provides is XRPL and the native cryptocurrency token is XRP. So what happens when a person needs to have a transaction through Ripple for a cross-border transaction? The user sends a request to the platform asking for a fiat-to-fiat quote on pricing. So what happens? There is a small amount of volatility in the XRP token that this platform provides. So it changes, it varies basis few factors, right? So once you need to transact through Ripple, you need to understand what is the value of XRP. Once you understand the value of XRP, you make that XRP coin and you do the transaction through Ripple. So you give all the information of the recipient to the platform. The platform converts your currency to the XRP token, and the XRP token is transmitted through the blockchain ledger to the receiver basis the information that has been given in the system. Once the system transmits that particular token to the receiver has the option to redeem or to reconvert the XRP token to a fiat currency in their local currency, native currency. So, for example, if I need to send a particular amount of dollar to India, right, then I'll be buying a particular number of XRP tokens using for example, $10,000, and those XRP tokens would be transmitted to the receiver, and the receiver would able to convert those XRP tokens to the native INR value, and the INR value would be transmitted to the receiver's bank. So this is how Ripple is actually enabling cross-border transactions without any delay. So this is how the coin is utilized for doing the transaction utilizing the blockchain as a immutable centralized ledger. So here the Ripple also provides its own blockchain, as I mentioned. So the blockchain provided by Ripple is a quorum based consensus method, and it is a very robust blockchain that is used for financial transactions, wherein it allows a majority of validators servers specifically configured to participate actively in consensus to agree a set of transactions should occur in a ledger entry. So this is how the consensus is made while the transaction is written upon the ledger. So this is how Ripple as a platform works. Now coming next to the Stellar as a platform. So Stellar is generally a platform which provides an open source blockchain as a platform. It provides an open source blockchain platform. It has its native digital currency known as Lumen, and the coin symbol is XLM. So what here in how Stellar is different from Ripple, it provides an option to the user to select from any of the blockchain that the user wants to wants the transaction upon. So it gives a very wide range of blockchain ledgers, blockchain platforms that can be utilized. One is that it can be Velo, it can be EURC, it can be USDC, Virex, Edgecoin. These are all the blockchain platforms that Stellar provides, and it has a native currency. So what happens? You leverage the blockchain whatever you want to use, and then you use the native digital currency provided by Stellar and do the transaction. So it is a similar kind of a process wherein you are given a possibility to choose from different kind of blockchain platforms that the system provides. All right, and here it uses a algorithm, consensus algorithm based on FBA called the Stellar Consensus Protocol. So here it is also a very robust and uh, tried and tested blockchain mechanism that is given by Stellar to do the transaction. So here the user has the option to choose from many of the blockchain, and the token is native to the platform. Coming further, so Circle is also one of a technology solution provider that provides the stable coin as the token to do the transaction between a sender and recipient. So here the USDC is a type of token that is utilized by Circle, and it is a cryptocurrency pegged to US dollar. So it converts the token to, and Circle has partnered with many blockchain platforms such as Algorand, Solana, Celo. These are all the blockchain platform providers that Circle has on its platform. So you can choose from any of the platform and do the transaction using USDC. So here is a small flow that is shown on the screen, wherein the sending institution converts the USD that needs to be sent to USDC. USDC is sent over blockchain, and the USDC is converted to local currency, and the local currency is then converted and then transmitted to the beneficiary of the local beneficiary account of the local currency. So here it gives an option to choose from the blockchain providers, blockchain platforms, and it is giving you a cryptocurrency that is pegged to the US dollar as a token to do the transaction. So in all those platforms that I have been discussing, there are two things. One is you need a blockchain platform to do the transaction, and the other is you need a token to do the transaction. So token can be your choice, or blockchain can be your choice. But token generally in Circle, token is given by the platform, and you can choose from any of the blockchain networks. Coming forward, so this is a unique kind of a platform which provides different kinds of digital currency and different types of blockchain networks. It is not giving any one type of token or any one type of blockchain networks. So as mentioned on the screen, there are different kinds of digital currency that are available on this particular platform, and there are different kinds of blockchain networks that are available on this particular platform. So you can person can choose from any of the blockchain network, and then any of the blockchain digital currency can be utilized to do the transaction between sender and the receiver. So now coming to a quick snapshot of how the technology is evolving in the cross-border landscape and how the players are transitioning towards the newer technologies. There are four quadrants that are there. So one is traditional companies and using non-blockchain technologies for doing the cross-border transactions. As we discussed initially, Swift is one of the mechanism to do the transaction, right? And those are the traditional non-blockchain methods. The modern way of doing the transaction is like credit cards that are like the purchases are done by the user, and there is no lag in the real time customer experience. Then there are traditional companies that are working on the blockchain technology to have a space in this area. So there are many companies such as IBM, Mastercard, Visa, Ripple, Circle. These are the companies that are traditionally in the payments business, and they are working in the direction of integrating blockchain as a technology to do and enable cross-border transactions. Uh, so, and then there are very specific niche blockchain providers, blockchain technology enablers that are making products that are very that are having blockchain as a base technology for doing the transactions. As we discussed, right? Stellar is one of them. BVNK is one of them. And these are all the companies that are moving in the direction of making modern infrastructure, modern technologies, leveraging blockchain as a technology for enabling cross-border payments. So this matrix gives you an overview regarding how the landscape of cross-border payments has evolved over time, and how traditional players were working in this area, how they are moving forward in this area. And it has been it would be there in the future that the bigger players would be integrating with the smaller niche companies for enabling cross-border payment solutions via blockchain. Uh, for any questions, you can reach out to us at siddharth.ghai@aranca.com. I'll briefly talk about how Aranca can support in these areas of cross-border transactions. So we help you understand how the landscape is, what is the competition within the cross-border payment landscape, how you can build, how you can buy versus build, scenario analysis. We can give you analysis wherein if you want to go into that particular direction of cross-border payment, then what should you do in that area? Should you integrate with a solution provider, or should you build something of your own, right? You can we can help you identify partners to collaborate. We can identify and shortlist partners where you can collaborate with, right? And we can also help you build and strategize point proof of concepts and pilots for your cross-border payment offering as a transaction offering, and then help you implement that particular part within your core banking system. I would also like to make a disclaimer on this particular session that we do not take any guarantee for the accuracy of information. None of the information is supposed to be taken as an investment advice, and no information shared in today's webinar should be copied or shared without our permission. Uh, Thank you, and thank you for being a wonderful audience. For any queries, you can reach out to us at siddharth.ghai@aranca.com. Thank you.